Welcome to Woman on Her Path. Every woman has her own unique path. But what does that mean? How does said woman know what her path is? How does she find the courage to follow her path? I am your host, Tiffany Cooper. I am a mother, energy worker, community herbalist, and bhakti yogi. By sharing my experiences and insights on my path, I hope to inspire and encourage you on yours. When we follow our path, we find the answers we need in life. Let's find answers together and create a better world for ourselves and those around us. It's the Woman on Her Path variety show. Yes, we are exploring many, many things on each episode of this show. And I'm doing that intentionally because, like all women, I am multifaceted and I like to explore as much as I can. If nothing else, it'll keep us all from getting bored. So women, tell me, how are you expressing your creativity? How are you expressing your creativity? What do you like to do to get into that second chakra energy, the energy of Swadhisthana, your sacral chakra that connects to your sense of creativity, that water element that connects to your life energy? How do you keep those waters of imagination flowing? One of the ways I like to activate my creativity is through poetry. So I'll share a little bit of it with you. As we walk along the imaginary path of distant fear, longing to hold hands, stars fall from the sky, waiting for us to catch them, ride them to the moon. Arms full, I saddle up, turn to look at you. You look down, contemplating the fork at your feet. I offer a spoon, tell you stars are easier to catch that way. Slowly, you dissipate into a haze of bewilderment. And I shrug. Woman, it is essential for us to express our creativity in order to connect with our path. Creativity is a feminine quality, and we are the direct expression of feminine energy in the material world. It is our nature to create. It is our superpower. You don't have to be able to paint a pretty picture or compose a piece of music to be creative. Creativity is about using our imagination to see things from a different perspective and then acting from that point of view. There are many, many ways that a woman expresses her creativity in many, many arenas of life. But if we have a very limited view of creativity, then it prevents us from even going in that direction. Our natural sense of creativity helps us solve problems and overcome obstacles in life. Our creativity allows us to be ourselves, to be true to ourselves, and to present ourselves in a genuine way. To create, we have to go deep inside and be vulnerable and pull out treasure from there. Rather than keep our creativity in a little box of other people's expectations, we have to set ourselves free. I want to say it again. We have to set ourselves free. We cannot create in spaces, whether physical or mental, that limit our abilities for the sake of other people's comfort. In fact, often when women create, others become uneasy. You see, anything that comes from deep within is powerful. It has a way of affecting people and making change. History has shown us time and again how fearful people become when women come even close to their own power. Remember, the 19th Amendment, giving women the right to vote, was only ratified in 1920. And as we know, it took even longer for all women to be allowed to vote. It still blows my mind that when my grandmother was born in 1913, women could not vote, meaning they had no legal rights. They couldn't own property. They didn't even have rights to their own children. And then, of course, there are things like the witch hunts, which lasted from the 1400s until the 1700s. People became so fearful of women with any modicum of power that they even began to blame them for things that they couldn't have possibly done. The fear of feminine power is so ubiquitous that some women are even afraid of their own power. So they hold themselves back or make themselves small. We cannot create when we make ourselves small. We have to understand that we, like every other human being on the planet, can contribute in great ways. It takes courage to contribute in great ways. Yet to do so, we only need to follow our path. And yes, sometimes it even takes courage to follow our path. Courage comes from a heart that is open to doing things differently than we have before. Courage and creativity are intertwined. It is time for all of us as women to claim our birthright as the purveyors of feminine energy. Simply put, we are not men. And for too long, women have had to emulate men to be, in quotation marks, successful. And we'll come back to that. That is not a criticism. We owe a debt to women who have sacrificed so much of themselves to change our culture, to begin to acknowledge that women are capable of great achievements. But now it's time for us to go even further, taking it back to the source. We can no longer define success or achievement by using the masculine energy dictionary. Success is not about how many external things we can accumulate. Success is about how we feel. It is an internal gauge that tells us whether or not we're on our path. When we feel satisfied or content, then we are successful. External things come and go. We have no control over them. They give us joy when we have the ones that we want, and pain when we do not. We strive for material or external things when we are not satisfied with what we have. We have control over how we feel. When we are on our path, we feel satisfied. We feel content. So, how does all of that relate to our creativity? Our creativity is within our innate power. And it is a direct link to the courage within our hearts. It puts us squarely on our own path so that we can be true to ourselves and contribute to the world. I have loved you for so long. through many lifetimes. From the cavernous reaches of my soul, I have worshipped the very thought of you and known that you have loved me too. I have carried you on the soft pillow of my heart, like a precious jewel glowing within me, waiting to be claimed and worn around the neck of forever. My home was your gaze, and my garden your love, for within it grew the dreams we together dreamed. Your voice was my refuge from the dark, like the sound of waves against the nighttime shore. You have called to me and calmed me. I have felt the very depths of you and have given to you from the very depths of me. But when the clouds came, you were gone. Through many lifetimes, I have lost you. When the waves became too high and pulled me to profound abyss. When as a knight you fought for me but couldn't slay that dragon. When our differences were too much for others to take. When I turned and walked away from you and that precious little flower in your hand. When the demon stood upon that ocean cliff and called to the dark forces of the sky, I wept and my heart broke. So here we are, once again, visions of connection like a Mobius strip. When we look into each other's eyes, it feels like home. Again, we have dreamed together and woken in each other's embrace. I have felt thunder with you, pain and deep sadness too. I have felt your longing for the earth to open up and swallow you whole, for it had all become too much. But I am here, you see, I never really left. I am the salve to heal your wounds, your goddess to erase time and usher in change, burning sage and keeping watch over your heart. I have come to you on an Akashic wave with offers of everlasting light, so you can rise to the surface and float on the current of life. I am your source of power, and you my source of love. Will you come with me or stay at the bottom of that lonely sea? Did you know that energy work and creativity are best friends? Or maybe I should say energy work is like a loving mother to creativity, a mother who nurtures and supports her baby to keep her strong. Like every good mother, she does what she can to make sure her baby grows into an independent adult who learns to live in the flow of life. So let's talk about Reiki. There are several forms of Reiki, but the most well-known form of Reiki is Usui Reiki. I always forget that things like energy work still seem so mysterious to people. So now I'll just lift the veil a little, only a little, because there are things about certain forms of energy work that should only be revealed to the serious practitioner. So what is Reiki? Reiki is a Japanese healing art that was established by Mikao Usui in the early 20th century. The word Reiki means universal life energy. It is believed that this beautiful system of healing was given to Usui as he was meditating in the mountains, which makes absolutely perfect sense to me since I know just how magical the energy of the mountains can be. In fact, many spiritual traditions also started with great wisdom being mystically handed down from the spirit of the mountains. At one point, Usui was said to have experienced this energy coming to him as balls of light. And I remember for 2 weeks before I received my first Reiki attunement, I kept having dreams and visions of myself wearing a long, dark cloak and carrying a ball of light in my hands. I was so happy when I finally got attuned and learned about Usui receiving the balls of light while he was in the mountains. So how does one receive Reiki? What happens in a Reiki session? Well, a Reiki practitioner channels universal energy and passes it to the receiver through their hands. This energy then goes on to help the receiver heal on the physical, mental, and emotional levels. And yes, it is real. It really works. And so there are some things that you should know about before receiving Reiki. The first thing is that it cannot hurt you in any way. You should also be sure that before you allow anyone near your energy field, you know for sure that they have been attuned to Reiki. I only say this because I have met several people who said they were attuned when they were not, or that they received some sort of half-assed attunement, which basically means they were not attuned. A Reiki practitioner is usually given a certificate upon attunement, and a serious practitioner is familiar with their lineage. So you can always ask to see someone's certificate or ask them about their lineage. I don't think anyone wants to waste their time and possibly even their money on getting a fake Reiki treatment that doesn't help them. Listen, I know placebo effect is real, but why not just be sure you get the real thing? There are Reiki practitioners all over the world. So if you don't already know one, you can go online. There are Reiki associations of practitioners online, or you can even visit your local health food store. They always have those magazines, those very informative, healthy living magazines that always have listings of natural healers in them. Reiki removes blockages and keeps your energy flowing. It stimulates the chakras, the energy centers throughout your energy field to ensure that they are working properly. So if you are having difficulty connecting to your creative energy, perhaps you can consider getting a Reiki treatment to activate that energy within you. Any statements made about specific herbs or products in this podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA, the United States Food and Drug Administration. Nothing I say is intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. All information provided in this podcast on any herb or any herbal product is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for advice from your physician or other healthcare professional. You should not use any of the information that I am giving in this podcast for diagnosis or treatment of any health problem. If you have a medical problem or even suspect that you have a medical problem, please consult a physician or other healthcare professional. And now that that's out of the way, let's get to the fun stuff. Can I just tell you how much I love herbs? Mother Earth gives us this magical bounty of plants that we can use to heal ourselves. Isn't that just one of the most incredible things you've ever heard? Not to mention all of the sweet, sweet properties that plants, that herbs have. Like as I mentioned, we can use them to heal. Not only do we use them to heal, they just bring so much joy into your life. The fragrances, the tastes, the textures, the many varieties of colors, and they're just wonderful. So, as I did a couple of episodes ago, I'd like to share a little bit of herbal knowledge with you. I want to keep it simple so as not to overwhelm. And of course, I think I mentioned before that that's the other thing that I love about herbs is the simplicity with which we can use them. We don't have to make it complicated. They're medicine. It isn't complicated. It's very simple so that we can very simply use them. So, the first herb that I would like to talk about today is dandelion. Yep, that's right. I said it, dandelion. You know, those sweet little happy looking yellow flowers that pop up in your yard in the spring and then in summertime begin to become these wispy little white balls of seeds that you can blow or that get scattered by the wind all over. Yes, those are the ones I'm talking about. So the beauty of dandelion, and again, this is the simplicity of Mother Earth, is that they are everywhere. They pop up everywhere. And we are living in a time when we are completely surrounded by chemicals and we're ingesting chemicals. And it's a time when we need to detoxify the liver, our liver. The liver has so many wonderful functions for the body. It is called the master detoxifier. So in order for the master detoxifier to keep running properly, it needs to be taken care of. It needs to be supported. It needs tonics. It needs to be cleansed. It processes hormones. It relieves the body of excess hormones. As women, we know that is very important to keep our hormones in balance. So during this time when we need something to help us with our livers, because again, we're surrounded by chemicals, we're often not eating properly, and so the body needs a little help. The liver needs a little help. And so in comes dandelion to the rescue. Dandelion, the root of the dandelion, we use as a digestive bitter. It helps with our digestion. It also acts as a tonic to give the liver support and a diuretic to help it relieve itself. And we use the leaves of the dandelion for water retention. It aids the kidneys and the bladder. The leaves are also high in potassium and iron and calcium. So how do we get all of this goodness from this precious little plant? Well, there is so much elegance in simplicity. So what you can do is simply just go out and harvest them from your yard. Now, if wild crafting herbs from your front yard or backyard is not your thing, then you can simply go out and buy yourself a good quality dandelion root tea. Of course, you can make a tea. You can infuse the fresh herbs that you find in your yard. But again, if that's not your thing, then make yourself a tea from herbs that you buy and drink that tea as often as you like. The next herb I'll talk about is red clover. Red clover is such a good friend to women. She promotes fertility and she's good during pregnancy and lactation. She also is good for those times when you have congestion of the menstrual cycle. So when you have those times that you're feeling congested or things aren't flowing the way that they should be, like you feel like your menstrual cycle is a little stuck up, red clover is good to get that flow going again. Now, there is a contraindication to taking red clover, meaning that there are conditions where it is not advisable to take red clover, and that is if you are already on blood thinners or have any kind of bleeding disorders. You can find red clover in capsule form. So you can go to a health food store or wherever you find herbs. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. We're in the age of the internet, so people are getting things online. So linking these little herbal tidbits back to our theme today, which is creativity and how it is a woman's superpower. Oftentimes when our energy is stuck and not flowing properly, then we start to experience physical stuckness as well. So we want to keep things flowing so that we can be in tune with our own superpower. And now I'd also like to repeat that anything that I have said here about these two precious herbs is not to be meant as a substitute for medical advice. So if you are having medical problems, please seek the advice of a doctor or a trained professional, especially a trained professional herbalist. If you're still wondering what you could do to tap into your own creative energy, I just have a few suggestions to encourage you. There are so many fabulous classes out there that you can take and classes that are at different levels. There's beginner classes, there's intermediate classes, there are advanced or master classes. There are so many wonderful classes that you can take, and there are so many people out there wanting to offer such lovely gifts. So first, I encourage you to check in your local area and see what's available. You can check with local schools or organizations, studios, places like that. Again, local in your area. Start there first because it's so important to support our local businesses. And there are so many people in our communities who have special talents and gifts that they're willing to share with others. Or you can even take advantage of one of the gifts that the pandemic has given to us. The ability to take classes almost anywhere in the world. The world and the internet have been opened up even more like a clam to reveal dazzling pearls of opportunity. Thanks to companies that provide video conferencing, we can learn something new online and not feel isolated in doing so. One of the things that I wanted to recommend is a book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, which is a lovely way to start a creative journey with what she calls morning pages. Apparently, Julia Cameron is offering online classes now on her website at juliacameronlive.com. Yeah, I believe that's it. Or you can do what people used to do back in the day, which is get a group of people together and start an Artist's Way group where you actually read and do the exercises in the book together. And that's really a fun way to interact with others and work on this material, because you learn so much from other people's creative processes, and it's fun to share creative energy with others. Speaking of others, I had a beautiful experience last weekend. I participated in a creative yoga nidra led by one of my favorite musicians by the name of Rachel Sermani. Rachel is a Scottish singer-songwriter, and she has one of the most beautiful voices I've ever heard. The yoga nidra she guided us through was so inspiring. If you're not familiar with yoga nidra, it means yogic sleep. And it is a very deep and transformational meditation that I will be offering in a future episode of Woman on Her Path. Anyway, the point is you can connect with someone who you know to be creative and just spend time in their energy field. That can inspire you to get your creative juices flowing. Another thing I want to encourage you to do is spend time in nature. All of those gorgeous trees and plants and bodies of water, animals, everything in the natural world has so much energy to share with you. In shamanism, we recognize that nature emits a very precious, refined energy called sami, which means nectar. Sami just makes us feel better. It lifts our spirits and it keeps us healthy and happy. When we feel happy, we often want to create something. I have even read about studies that show that people feel more creative after spending time in nature. I spent a lot of time during the most intense parts of the pandemic communing with nature in various places. And it always made me feel so much better. It reminded me that in spite of all the difficulties we are dealing with in the world, it is still such a magical place with lots of kind people who are open to connection. That feeling kept me open, which kept my creativity flowing. The place that touched me most deeply was Scotland. I love her so much. I got on a plane with a notebook and fine artist pens in my backpack and went there specifically to commune, or not just commune, but to be overwhelmed with nature. I hiked, I spent entire days outdoors, I got to sleep in a caravan, I stretched out with rowan trees, I talked to gorse bushes, and I listened to ferns. I meditated at the sea and hummed in the forest, ending every day by writing about my experiences with the subtle energy around me. Nature calls out to us to reconnect with her so we can feel the joy, the sweetness, and the support that she has to give. That feeling of security and that feeling of love is what helps us stay open to our creativity. So now I want to talk to you about mudras. What are mudras, you ask? Well, mudras are gestures that we make with the body, which are called yogic mudras. And then there are also hasta mudras that we make with our hands. And today I'm just focusing on hasta mudras, or a particular hasta mudra, hand gesture. Now, the benefit of hand gestures of these mudras is that they can help you develop and even sometimes express certain moods. They can also help one heal on the mental, physical, and the subtle energy levels. Mudras are not only used for healing, they are also used in art and meditation. The word mudra means seal. So when we practice mudras, we are creating connections of energy, a seal that has a noticeable effect. In ancient Indian texts, it is said that Lord Shiva was the first to use mudras. In the Garanda Samhita, he reveals this knowledge to Parvati, his eternal consort. In the text, he says, "O goddess, I have imparted this knowledge of mudras. Mere knowledge of these provides siddhis, mastery. Their knowledge provides bliss to yogis. Their knowledge is not easily accessible even to gods. Keep this knowledge always secret." I often teach mudras in my yoga classes because they are so beneficial. So if you are not in a place or a situation where you can practice a mudra right now, you may be driving or something, you may want to pause this recording until you get to a proper place, or perhaps you can even just listen for now and actually do the practice later. So the mudra that we will work with today is called Dhyana Mudra. Dhyana Mudra. The word dhyana means meditation in Sanskrit. And this mudra helps to improve our levels of concentration, the levels of concentration of the mind, and it brings us to a deeper state of meditation. When we create, we go deep, and often we like to stay there for extended periods of time. So, of course, I realize that you cannot see me. So I will give very descriptive directions on how to practice this mudra. So the first thing you want to do is get into a comfortable seated position. Get into a position where you can really settle in. And the importance of being comfortable in this position is that you don't want to spend all of your time and energy focusing or even being distracted by what's happening in your lower back or your knees or whatever. So let's find ourselves in a comfortable seat, a seat that we can settle down into. It doesn't have to be on the floor. You can sit in a chair if that's better for you. And once you're in your comfortable seat, you want to begin to settle in. You can just follow along with your breath. You don't have to cultivate it in any particular way. You just want to begin to listen to the sound of your breath, if you can. If you can't hear your breath, maybe focus on the feeling of the breath. And once you begin to settle in, once you begin to feel nice and comfy and nice and present in your body, you can begin your mudra. So what we will do is we will bring the left hand, palm facing up. Just bring it right in front of you. It doesn't have to be in any particular position right now. So that left hand is coming out in front and the palm is facing up. Now, the next thing we'll do is we'll take the fingers of the right hand and place them on top of your fingers of the left hand. So they're fingers to fingers, they are touching. Right fingers on top of left fingers. So now the next thing we will do is we will bring the tips of the thumbs to touch. So we are creating an oval or a circle, depending on how long or short your fingers are. So we've got this space, this circle or oval that we've created by touching the tips of the thumbs together. Now we're just touching the thumbs. We're not pressing them together. We're not applying any force at all, just touching them together. Now that we have our hands in the mudra, we're making sure that the back is sitting up nice and straight. If you'd like, you can rest your mudra on your legs so that your arms don't get tired holding it up. And we're returning to the breath. We're coming back to noticing the breath. If you would like to cultivate your breath, you can inhale through your nose to the count of 6 and exhale through the nose to the count of 8. So just really allowing yourself to relax, allowing yourself to go deep into a little bit of a meditation. Doesn't have to be a deep meditation today. Again, I realize we are doing this via audio recording. So as you're continuing to breathe and you're focusing on the breath, once you really start to settle down, perhaps you can even notice your pulse. And you can notice it anywhere in the body, whether you're noticing it at the wrists or the temples, or sometimes people notice they can feel that pulse in the crooks of the elbows. Anywhere at all where you feel that blood pumping. Maybe you could even notice it in your heart. Maybe you're that sensitive. So again, we're focusing on the breath and then we're going into the pulse if you can notice it. It's not always detectable for everyone. So if you notice the pulse, you can focus on that. Excuse me. And if you do not notice the pulse, then you can focus on your breath. Now, after holding this mudra for a few moments, perhaps you already notice that you are feeling deeper into a state of relaxation. Perhaps you're noticing that the mind has begun to settle down. Just being with whatever you feel in the moment. And whenever you're ready, you can go ahead and release your mudra. Just releasing your hands. You can place them down by your sides if you'd like. And just take a moment to sit and just be where you are. And now I'm so sorry to interrupt your moment. But we have come to the end of the practice. I just wanted to give you a little demonstration about how to use this mudra. So now that you know the technique, you know the technicalities of using the mudra, now all you have to do is practice it. So as often as you can, practice your mudra. Bring yourself to a nice, comfortable, quiet space in your home or maybe even outdoors. Meditating outdoors is magical. So just find your comfy spot and practice your mudra. And the more you practice it, the deeper you'll find yourself getting into a meditation. And it will also come to you much quicker. So a lot of times when we sit down to meditate, It takes us a little while to really begin to go deep. And as you continually practice this mudra, you will begin to notice that it is easier for you to get to that deeper state faster. When the sun gifted earth in particles and waves, the stars declared, "We will match the beauty that you gave. We'll sprinkle earth with beings both great and small." Then the universe chimed in, "I will connect them all. But to certain ones, I will give a special prize, a magnetic soul, only to be recognized by those with whom they share the deepest connection through experience, a quite vast collection of lifetimes together, some good and some bad, and many lessons learned, some happy, some sad. And those are the things that will keep bringing them together until they have learned, figured out how to weather the storms that come down in particles and waves. They'll finally understand for the rest of their days that life may not be easy. It is very often hard, but within each other they will find the reward of solace, peace, and joy unbounded once they are lucky enough to have found it. The other soul that matches their own, the one that in an instant they'll realize they have known. From the beginning of time, from the beginning of days, when the sun gifted earth in particles and waves. We have come to the end of another episode of Woman on Her Path. I hope you enjoyed this episode as well as the other two that I have put out so far. I just want to take a moment to say thank you for coming along with me on this journey. It is the very beginning of this journey, and I have a lot more planned. As women, our time has come to stand in our own energy. It is time for us to make a positive difference in the world and not just focus on negativity. We are in a new world and we must claim our place in it rather than let someone else tell us where we have to be. If this podcast is at all helpful or supportive to you, please leave a rating on whichever service you use to listen. You can also reach out to me at womanonherpath@gmail.com with any questions or comments that you may have. You can even let me know what you would like to hear more of and what you would like to hear less of. So have a gorgeous, gorgeous weekend and enjoy the coming week. And I can't wait to meet you here again next Friday. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this show. I hope you found something useful. Like everything in life, we can take what we need and leave the rest. Please feel free to contact me with comments or questions at womanonherpath@gmail.com.